In the previous video, we began talking about the presentation, which is in the head of the document. So the presentation part of semantic markup, semantic layout, where the meaning is the content of the page. So we have our overall structure, top to bottom of the page. Then we begin to add our elements which apply meaning to our content within the structure. And then we add style in the head of the document to add the aesthetics or the creative layout, if you will. Okay, so let's look at a couple of other things. So previously we added a background color to the body of the document. So what's next here? Why don't we just look at the H1 tag? So we want to place a style or presentation on this H1. So the H1 has meaning. It's a heading 1, priority 1 headline. Okay, so what if we want this type to be a different font or a different color or a different size? Well, we would do that with our presentation. So we're going to use the element itself, the H1. Okay, so this is going to be our selector or our hook to our styles in our style element. So let's just go after the body element, and we'll use the H1 element as our selector to make the connection between the H1 element and the rule we're going to write. So let's go ahead and just add our curly braces here. And let's start off by calling out the font we want to use. So we're going to use the font family property. So font hyphen family colon. And what you need to do, what you need to be aware of is the fonts on your page are based off of the fonts which are in the user's operating system. And everybody has different fonts. They're not all the same. They're not all standardized. And of course, people, especially designers, like to use very, shall we say, cool, aesthetically cool fonts. So what we have to do is we have to start embedding fonts, or we have to use a resource like Google Fonts if we want something beyond the basics. So let's just start basic here, and let's say we are going to select Verdana, and then we're going to type in a comma and a space. What we're doing here is if Verdana is not available, then through this list approach, we're simply going to say sans serif and semicolon. So if Verdana is not in the user's operating system, then what will happen is the font on the page will display with the default sans serif at that person's operating system. Okay, so we're going to change this for a Google font here in a moment, but we'll just go with it with Verdana for right now. So we're taking care of the font family. So let's go ahead and do font size. And this is a headline. Let's go ahead and set our font to 36 pixels. We're just going to use an absolute unit of measure at this time. And let's set our font weight. And we'll set our font weight to 400 is normal or book weight, and 700 is bold, and 900 is ultra bold. There's other values, but those are the most common. So let's say 700, which is going to be bold. All right. Now let's apply a color. So we just type in, make sure I tab this over. So we tab this over, and we're going to deal with the color. And let's just go to our HTML colors here. And I don't know, what do we have? will look decent on here. Why don't we just go with a sort of a dark color? Maybe we could pick up on some of the sort of oranges or whatnot in Mau Mau here. So let's try, and it might look a little funky with that yellow background, but let's see what happens. Okay, let's say we go with this one, and we'll get our hexadecimal for our color. Yep, go back here. And our color, let's paste our color in and then add our semicolon. We'll save our document, and then let's go ahead and refresh. And you'll now see that our font has changed according to the styles which we've just created. All right, so what we'll do, we'll pick up in another video. We'll go ahead and we'll add some style to the subheads, and we'll also add some style to the paragraphs.